Hello everyone. Today we will discuss about fetal heart circulation. During fetal time period, as the lungs are non-functional, so the gaseous exchange is done by the placenta. But after birth, as the lungs gets functional, so they do the gaseous exchange. Umbilical cord, which is attached to the placenta, it contains two umbilical arteries and two umbilical veins. But one of the umbilical vein stops functioning at the fourth month of fetal age. So there remains two umbilical arteries and one umbilical vein. Umbilical vein enters the portal vein in the liver, and then by the help of ductus venosus, umbilical vein drain its blood into the inferior vena cava. In this, the ductus venosus acts as a bypass for the umbilical vein between the portal vein and inferior vena cava. And the umbilical vein, before entering the portal vein, it contains 100% oxygenated blood. But after entering the portal vein and inferior vena cava, it gets mixed with their deoxygenated blood. So it becomes 80% oxygenated and 20% deoxygenated. By the help of inferior vena cava, now the blood goes into the right atrium, and in the septum of right and left atrium there is an opening present which is known as foramen ovale, and due to the presence of foramen ovale most of the blood goes into left atrium from the right atrium, and only a small quantity goes into the right ventricle. In this picture, you can clearly see the foramen ovale present in the septum between the right and left atrium, and the blood crossing through the foramen ovale. During constriction of the heart, blood goes from right atrium to right ventricle, and from right ventricle it goes into the lungs by the help of pulmonary arteries. And only a small and required quantity of blood goes into the lungs for their nutrition and development. By the help of right and left pulmonary veins, blood from lungs come back to the left atrium. From left atrium, blood goes to the left ventricle, and by the help of aorta, blood goes to the whole body from the left ventricle. And between the arch of aorta and the bifurcation point of pulmonary trunk, there is a bypass present which is known as ductus arteriosus. And the ductus arteriosus prevents the blood going to the lungs through the pulmonary arteries, because if a large quantity of blood will go to the lungs, then that will damage the lungs. So during the fetal age, lungs require only a small quantity of blood for its nutrition and development. As the lungs are non-functional. In this picture, you can see the structure, encircled with black dots is ductus arteriosus, and it is present between the bifurcation point of pulmonary trunk and the arch of aorta, and it is preventing the blood going into the lungs, and all the blood is going into the whole body through the aorta, and the blood is deoxygenated. Now the aorta descends down, and at the level of T12 vertebra, the descending aorta becomes abdominal aorta, and the abdominal aorta divides into two internal iliac arteries, and the two internal iliac arteries form into two left and right umbilical arteries, and by the umbilical arteries blood goes to the placenta, and the same process again take place. As there is no need of umbilical arteries and umbilical vein after birth, so the umbilical arteries form into umbilical ligament, and the umbilical vein form into round ligament of liver, and it is also known as ligamentum teres hepatis. After birth, some physiological and anatomical changes occur in the body because ductus venosus, ductus arteriosus, and foramen ovale will functionally and anatomically close. So, the cry of the baby is necessary for the normal functioning of the lungs. Ductus venosus functionally close after 5 minutes of cut of the umbilical cord, and its anatomical closing occurs after 7 days of birth, and it becomes ligamentum venosus. Foramen ovale functionally close after 5 minutes of birth, and its anatomical closing occur after 1 year of birth, and it becomes fossa ovalis. Ductus arteriosus functionally close after 5 minutes of birth, and it anatomical closes after 60 days of birth, and it is known as ductus botelli. Botelli was named after the scientist Botelli, and it is also known as ligamentum arteriosum. So, this was all about fetal heart circulation. Thank you.